So it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. We woke up about 4 this morning. Our daughter wasn't feeling very well, but I think that we're ready to go to the hospital. We got all our bags packed, our pillow, our blanket, everything ready for the induction. Got baby girl's stuff over there all ready to go. Got the bed made. Say hi, Dad. It's gonna be a long day, guys. I'm excited. Hi guys, and welcome to my labor and delivery story. Usually when we do labor and delivery stories, we do it with the footage of the birth, but because this time our nurse was a little bit more strict about us filming the birth, which I had a feeling was going to happen, we were not able to take video. We will insert some pictures at the end of this video or throughout the video of her birth. Our best friend did capture a lot of really sentimental good photos, so it didn't feel like we were totally not having any footage of the birth, which was good. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and tell you the story. I do have it written down because it was very chaotic and it was hard for me to remember everything, and everything was going by so quickly that I literally, if I didn't write this in my phone, I probably wouldn't remember the times at all. So
it was a very quick 12 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it was 12. Just as a background really quick, I had, my first labor was 17 hours? 19 hours. My second was 6.5 hours, almost 7. And then my third was 12 hours, which it totally shouldn't have been. And we'll get into why here in a second. So thank you guys so much for watching this, and let's get into it. So I ended that pregnancy at 43 inches round and 166 pounds, and I started at 135, which is higher than I usually am. I usually start at 125. So I did start off a little bit higher, but she was my, I guess, technical biggest pregnancy, because my last pregnancy I thought was my biggest, but I was only 42.5 inches round and she was 43. So I have a feeling if she would have went completely full term or bigger, she would have been my biggest baby. At 35 weeks, I started having prodromal labor. I was having really bad contractions all the way up until my induction. It was very discouraging because I was in so much pain, and they were making progress. I was from a 1.5 to a 2 at 36 weeks, and then a 3 at 37 weeks, and then it just kind of tapered off. So it was kind of discouraging because I was having the contractions and stuff, but she was still really high and my cervix was still really tilted like it always is. And so it was just honestly hard. No one wants to be in labor for 5 weeks straight.
She would literally wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning crying because it hurt so bad.
Yeah. And at 36 weeks, I did have to go to the ER for high blood pressure. They did all the tests. There was nothing there to show why I was having high blood pressure. My thought was it's just because I was in a lot of pain. So at 37 weeks, I was having a ton of contractions. I had my bloody show multiple times, and I was having multiple bowel movements, and I lost my mucus plug, and I thought for sure she was gonna come. My family did come down, but I think that might have stalled labor because I was way too relaxed, and they took care of everything, and we were having so much fun, and I was happy and stressed out. So my blood pressure was down and I wasn't freaking out all the time, so the contractions did slow down. So we did go ahead and set an induction date because I am just one of those people that have to be induced in order to go into labor, otherwise I'll be pregnant for 50 weeks instead of 41 to 42 maximum. So we did set it for December 14th was our induction date. That day I was officially 39 weeks even, and so I think that's why she set it, because it was as soon as we could do because of how much pain I was in. At 6 o'clock in the morning, we headed to the hospital, and we got there around 6:30?
Yeah.
6:30, and got all the paperwork filled out and everything, made sure we were, in the system and everything. And at 7 o'clock, I met my nurse. She ordered a new type of, I want to say, cervical softener, because I've never heard of it before. I've heard of Cervidil and what's the other one? Cervidil and another C one, Cytotec. And she ordered one called Miso. And she recommended it because she noticed that I was still super high and I was still a 3 centimeters, like maybe a generous 3.5, if anything. And so she was like, let's just get the meso and thin your cervix out, because you're dilating on the outside, but you're not dilating on the inside. And so she went ahead and did that. And she said it's going to take about 2 hours. You have to lay in bed. Or was that the one you have to lay in bed for 2 hours? Or yeah. So I had to lay in bed for 2 hours, and then she was saying that she wanted me to walk around after that. So at 10 o'clock, we went ahead and went for a walk because I wasn't progressing any, like I wasn't dilating any and I wasn't thinning out any. So she was like, I want you to walk around and get some like activity and come back in an hour. So me and my husband just walked around. We went to the cafeteria. They still let me eat, which was nice. So I just ate a little bit of food. I wasn't very hungry because I already had a pretty big breakfast. And so that's pretty much all we did for that hour. By the time I got back, she had checked me and I was 4 centimeters, but still really high. So I had progressed about 1 centimeter, but I was still really high. And she thought the meso wouldn't be very effective. She called my doctor, and my doctor said it wouldn't be very effective to keep me doing the meso because it wasn't progressing me very much. So they wanted to go straight into Pitocin. So she started me off on Pitocin, and in between the span of 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock, she had upped the Pitocin to 12, which in my induction experiences, I've never gone like on Pitocin above a 4, maybe a 6 at the very end. But the reason being why this is like such a big deal for my body personally is because I don't have trouble contracting. We know this, like without Pitocin at 35 weeks, I had contractions. I was having contractions when we first went to the hospital. That was nothing new. Like we wanted them to be consistent and we needed her to get lower, but that had nothing to do with the amount of contractions that I was having. So her personal opinion was that she needed to keep upping the Pitocin all the way up to 16, if not get it approved for even higher. And so my concern, which I guess I should have vocalized a little bit more, was that it was causing these contractions to happen very frequently, but they weren't like super painful. They weren't dilating me. They were just literally causing my body to spasm. Like, so I pretty much just bounced on the ball and was talking to my sisters that were there and having a grand old time while just being drugged up on this love hormone.
And the nurse said that she wanted to get the contractions so strong you couldn't breathe.
Yeah, like she kept being like, I want it to be where you can't talk through them. I want it to be where you can't breathe. And I was just like, look, lady, I know my body, and I know that like my body needs to relax in order to go into full-blown labor. And so I just didn't feel like that was the best choice for my body personally. And I don't think that had anything to do with my doctor. I think that was my nurse's choice. So she had me bouncing on the ball. I was bouncing on the ball. I was bleeding pretty bad because I kept having to get checked multiple times. And so I was bleeding pretty bad. Finally, they came in again and checked me. No progression at all. And so they had me raise the bed all the way, lay on the bed with just my chest, put my butt out in the air, and basically rock back and forth and tilt back and forth to try to get her head under my cervix instead of over that lip. So they were trying that, and then my friend that's a nurse, she was like, when's the last time you peed? Like, you're on an IV and you've been drinking liquids. Like, when's the last time you went to the bathroom?
There for like 6 hours and they hadn't seen you go to the bathroom.
Yeah, so we calculated it and it was like 4 hours since I had gone to the restroom. And so I went to try to go. I couldn't go. I've had issues like going to the restroom during pregnancy with both my last pregnancy and this one. I couldn't go to the restroom. My doctor finally came in person, and she was like, yeah, you need to empty your bladder. We're going to give you a catheter to empty it for you. That will help bring her down. So my friend gave me some techniques to go into the bathroom and like blow bubbles in a straw, like with water, and like turn back and forth, turn the water on warm, put your finger under it, like all this stuff. And it actually worked. I was able to pee and like let my bladder out. So after we did that, she was like, oh yeah, my doctor actually checked me this time, and she was like, oh yeah, you're definitely like a lot lower. She's ready to go. She didn't even say she was going to break my water. She just like got the hook. It was like, let's get this baby out of you. Because she just knows how like miserable I've been and like how dangerous it is to just keep a baby like on Pitocin that long, that high, squishing in your uterus, but not going anywhere. Like my poor baby came out with a cone head.
I want to say when you were when she had the Pitocin on somewhere around like a 6,
Mm-hmm.
she had suggested to the nurse to break your water. And the nurse was like,
said no.
No, I'm not going to break the water yet because the baby's not in position enough or something to that degree.
And my doctor was getting very upset at her because she was like, no, I know my patient, like, she needs her water broken. That's how she'll progress. This isn't how she'll progress. So it was kind of annoying that was going on, and I felt like I would have already had her here if she hadn't done that, but it is what it is, and there's nothing we can do to really like change it. So she emptied my water, and then I laid down, and then she got the hook and she broke my water, and then he said that it literally sprayed all the way up her arm. Like
literally, it was like up to here on her arm.
And she, mind you, like came in on her day off because she's like the best doctor ever, and she was in her normal clothes, so like you know that she was just like, all right, that's what's happening now. So she left to go get food with her family because she knows it's going to take just a little bit before I'm going to give birth, but it does progress very quickly once my water is broken. Last time with Ellie, my last baby, it only took like an hour and a half.
2 hours tops.
Yeah, 2 hours tops for her to be born. So she's like, do you think I have time? And she's like, I'm just going to run and then let me know if anything happens at all and I'll come back. So she left. So that was at 4:15 that she broke my water. And then I started getting immediately bad contractions, like the ones, if you've ever given birth before, it's like, you know what I'm talking about. But by 5 p.m., those contractions had started, and I was like, ooh, yeah, these are getting strong. And if you haven't given birth yet, it's basically just a very, like, well, depending on your labor, it could be different, but for me, it starts very high and then just kind of radiates downward like a wave of kind of pain and like contraction. So that's pretty much what I had started. And then she asked me, are you going to get the epidural? And I said yes, because the last 2 times I tried to go without an epidural, I just don't progress because of the pain being so bad. Like, I can manage it, but relax. I just can't relax. Like, I can deal with it, but I can't relax. So I said, yeah, let's go ahead and get the epidural. They allowed my husband to be in the room for my epidural, and I held on to him. The anesthesiologist was very professional. He was wonderful. I felt like he did a great job. I do know that, like, at the top of my stomach, I could still feel the contractions, which I should have voiced, but I think I did. I said I can still feel it up top, but it's not, like, super painful because it wasn't hurting really bad. But I was like, all right, whatever. And then my nurse left, and she was going on shift change, so that was the end of that one. I was thankful to get a new nurse, and I had sat up in the bed, which I didn't know. When you first get an epidural, you're not supposed to sit up because it needs to, like, move throughout your body. And so I sat up. She came back in, was like, no, you can't sit up, lay down. And so I laid back down, and then she left. My husband was telling me he was hungry, and he's like, do you think I have time to just run to the vending machine real quick? And I, like, fought you on it. I was like, no, you need to go to the cafeteria, like, go get some real food. I have time.
I was just going to go to the vending machine, get, like, a bag of Cheetos and come back.
And I was like, no, like, go get a real meal and then bring it back or whatever. And so he left, and let's see. By 7:15, so that wasn't that much later.
I probably had left the room at 7.
Mm-hmm. By 7:15, the nurse had come in, and she's like, hi, I'm your new nurse and everything. We introduced ourselves to each other, and she's like, can I check you really quick? And I was like, yeah, go for it, because the contractions have been pretty strong, so let's just see if I've progressed at all, if I've thinned out. And so she checked me, and usually people have trouble checking me, and she immediately was like, you're an 8 or 9, or she said a generous 8 or a 9, and very, very stretchy. And so I was like, that escalated quickly, because between that time
when I went from the room, you were at a 7. Yeah,
I was at a 7. So I went from a 7 to like a stretchy, 8 or 9. And she was like, and you're thinning out a lot. Like, I can feel baby. And so I was like, oh, cool. Like, we're making progression. This is going by very fast. And so I was like, okay, cool. And then by So 7:15 is when I was feeling it. After she checked me by 7:20, I had started feeling the contractions as if I had never gotten an epidural before at all. Like it had worn off, and she did the cold test where you get, something cold and you put it on that area, and if it's warm, it's working. If it's cold, it's not working. She checked me from the top of my stomach all the way down to my calves, and my calves were the only thing that the epidural was left on. Now, I don't know if this is because the position of the epidural in the first place, because I could still feel it on my stomach, or if this was because I had sat up and made that mistake of not knowing that you're not supposed to sit up for the first 15 minutes of like having your epidural. So I am not sure, but all I know is that the pain that was happening because of the loss of the epidural was excruciating. I had watched a video prior to giving birth that had said the mantra, my baby is not trying to hurt me, my baby is just trying to move forward and progress. And let's just say that's the only thing that got me through those contractions, because my friends know I was happy and dandy this entire time, and I kind of just looked at one of my friends while I was having a contraction, and she's a nurse, and she just knew that it was about to go down because I was quiet. I was breathing heavy. I was in my head just repeating to myself, my baby is not trying to hurt me. My baby is just trying to progress. My baby is not trying to hurt me. My baby is just trying to progress. And not to scare anybody that's trying to have natural labor, because obviously it is possible and a lot of women do it, and you're all brave and I love you. But it was bad. I mean, I think it's also too because the Pitocin makes contractions worse. It makes them stronger and more intense. And so when she had checked me and saw that they were that high, she goes, do you mind if I lower it to a 4? And I was like, yes, please. Like, lower it down as much as you want. Turn it off if you want. So she lowered it down to a 4.
Didn't she turn it off?
She did eventually. So she lowered it to a 4.
I wasn't in the room at this point.
And yeah, Brett was getting food. She lowered it. And mind you, this is in a span of 20 minutes. It sounds like it's a lot, but it was really quick. So she turned off the Pitocin, checked me. I was that far along. She was like, I'm going to go ahead and leave the room really quick. You're having the contractions. The anesthesiologist came back in to administer more epidural. I couldn't even talk to him. I was like so like just in pain at this point that I was like, dude, just give me the drugs. Like, put it in, stop being friendly, and let's just do business right now. And it didn't work. The epidural never came back, and like she came to check me, and she's like, is it there? And she's like, we could reposition it, we could take it out and put it back in. And I like looked at her and I was like, there's not time. Like, there's no time for that. I will be giving birth by the time he gets in here to reposition this thing. So let's, just like with Aurora's birth, I was like, let's just do this. Like, it's worn off. It is what it is. I wanted to do a natural birth anyways. This is God's way of being like, you wanted it, here it is. So she left the room, and she went to go call Tamar because she was like, hey, she's about to give birth right now.
Well, and shortly before that, Tamar called and asked and was like,
how's she doing?
What's she at? Can I go a little bit further from the hospital? I got some things she needs to do.
She's
maybe
like,
a dinner or something.
You can go. And so she had already left farther away from the hospital, and so she was kind of just like, oh crap, like I shouldn't have told her to do that. So she's like, I'll be right back. So she left, and then that was pretty much that 20 minutes.
Where did I come back?
We're getting there. So I looked at my friend after she left, and I had another contraction. I was trying to breathe through them, and it was just getting so like real at this point. And my friend kind of just knew, like, I think it's because she's a nurse, I don't know, but she was kind of just like, okay, to my other friend, let's all be quiet, like this is getting real, like she's about to give birth. And then I kind of just looked at her, and she was like, do I need to go wash my hands? Like, do I need to get ready to deliver your baby? Yeah. And I was just like, yes. So she literally went and she called Brett on the phone, and she was like, get your butt back here right now. Like, she's going into labor right now. And like, I don't know, did she like run?
Yeah, kind of.
Because it was like, yeah, you need to get back here. She went into the bathroom, literally washed her hands because she was getting ready to deliver my baby. The nurse comes in at the same time that she comes in out of the bathroom, and I looked at the nurse, and she goes, how are you doing? And I said, she said, do you need a push? And I said, yes. I was like, I need to push. Like, I can feel her. She goes, don't push yet. Don't push yet. Just relax. Like, calm your body down. And all I can think in my head is like, I could literally feel her progressing forward without me pushing. And so I like immediately froze. I can't even explain it, but it's like something turned off in my brain, and all physical functions do not work, and verbalizing things did not work, because Brett runs into the room and I make eye contact with him, and I'm thinking in my head, Brett, you're gonna catch this baby, or I'm gonna have this baby right now. Her head, all I could think was, her head is right there, Brett, but I couldn't say it. I was like,
and I thought she was just at like a 9.
Yeah, I was just like, and like I wanted to tell him that so bad, but I literally could not speak because of how much pain I was in. And I also thought, if I say anything, she's gonna fall out. She's gonna fall out, because I could feel her. And so the nurse was like, okay, honey, it's okay. Like, if I have to deliver, it's okay. I've done it before. And so I thought, you know what? God is good. God is gracious. I have 2 nurses in here that know how to deliver a baby. We'll make it work. Like, it's fine. So we started getting me positioned up, and I was thinking in my head, okay, my nurses are going to deliver my baby. And Tamar swoops right in, just always at the right, like, opportunity and time.
Took her 5 minutes to get there.
Yeah, she was like, I'm here. I know, like, when it's about to go down and she says it's about to go down, it's about to go down. So she got there. She's like, when the next contraction happens, you tell me, and you start to push. And I was like, okay, because I could literally feel my body pushing her out naturally. I don't know if you have given birth and you've ever experienced it. It's like the craziest thing in the world when your body naturally pushes a baby out. It's like magical, because it's like the power of like a woman's body is just like phenomenal. But I could go on for days about that. So I started pushing with her, and it was about 3 or 4 pushes, I would say, every contraction. And I felt like I was in the groove pretty well from the last ones, and I knew like how to push. There was only one of the pushes where I was pushing with my like face, which is basically like when you like concentrate like your muscles in your face, but it takes away from your actual pushing. The only reason I did that though is because I psyched myself out, because I could feel her head there, and Tamar's like, feel her head. And so I went down there for the first time. Mind you, I always opt out of this because I'm like, nope, that's gonna freak me out. I'm okay, thank you though. Don't want to see it, don't want to touch it, just get the baby out. But I went down there and I felt her head and I felt her hair, and immediately, instead of being like, oh my gosh, like most normal people do, every time I hear birth stories like this, they're like, it was so empowering, and I knew she was right there, I was almost done. That was the opposite of what I thought. I thought, holy Hannah, her head is right there. This is about to hurt like a mofo. Like the ring of fire is about to go down. I don't want to push. And like all that happened in the span of like 15 seconds in my brain. And so the next push, I was like pushing with my face and not down there. And so she's like, Lila, push like normal. Stop pushing with your face. And I was just like, dang it, she's calling me out on this. And so I was like, you can do this. You can do this. Got back in the mode, pushed her out. So within 3 pushing sessions, little girl here was out, and she came out obviously head first and then shoulders. And then my doctor is so wonderful that she literally is always like, open your eyes and come get your baby. She also told me to stop pushing when her head was about to pop out, because she wanted the contractions to normally push her out. And that really, really helps if you can like communicate that with your doctor if they don't do it already, because you won't tear, because the muscles aren't being strained once it's maximum opened. So it really helps, like no episiotomy and no tearing and ripping in there. So I'm so happy that she did that, because I could not see when it was that point, and I was already in so much pain that I couldn't even tell where she was at that point, like position wise. So she was like, stop pushing, and then she slid right out, and then I reached down and I grabbed her and I put her on my chest, and it went by very quickly. It was wonderful, but it all felt like a dream. Like it went very quickly. And it was nice to do the skin to skin right away. I was glad that they didn't take her with my youngest, with my oldest. They took her to check her right away, and so that was a little bit hard on me to not be able to do skin to skin right away. But I got to do about 2 minutes of skin to skin, and then they delivered my placenta. When she delivered my placenta, though, I felt the placenta come out, which is almost as, if not more, excruciating than giving birth, because you're already sore down there. I felt it pop out, and this time I had my eyes open and I was looking at my doctor, and I literally felt the popping sensation of the placenta coming out and the tugging sensation, especially because I already had her cord pretty close, and she's like, stop yanking on it. She's like, stop yanking on her cord, it's still inside you. And I was like, my bad. Like, pulling it out myself, sorry. Yeah, trying to pull it out like I pulled my baby out. So she pulled my placenta out, and as soon as she pulled my placenta out, I literally saw my blood gushing on her, like literally just spraying, and I felt it. Like I just felt blood coming out. As visual as that is, super TMI, sorry, but this is real.
She's just overall calm. You're bleeding a lot more than
she's a very she's a very calm doctor.
Thinner or whatever it was.
With my middle child, I had gotten a shot to help stop the bleeding. They gave me that same shot in my leg, in my thigh, to stop the bleeding, but it wasn't working very much. It wasn't working the way she wanted, as much as she wanted it to, and all I could see was her like packing gauze and stuff into me, and I could feel her just packing. I felt like I was being stuffed like a pillow because she just kept packing stuff and pulling stuff and packing stuff and pulling stuff, and I was like, I thought we were done giving birth. I was very calm at this point though, because for one, I have faith in my doctor, and then for two,
you're holding your baby.
I was holding my baby. With my second, when I was bleeding a lot, I remember asking her, because I also hemorrhaged with my second, I remember asking her, like looking at her and being like, am I okay? And she was just like, yeah, you're fine, and then like yelling at the nurses to go get the shot and stuff. And so I was so emotional, because I thought in my head, if I am gonna die, just please give me my baby so I can hold her for a little while before I go. And so I was super emotional with my second, but with my third, I thought, well, like, I already knew pregnancy was hard on me, but at least I got to hold my baby, you know, before I passed away. And I knew that my husband would be capable of taking care of my kids if, you know, I was gone. So there was more of a peaceful feeling this time. She's like, are we done yet? Are we done yet? So it was definitely more of a peaceful feeling this time. She also administered another blood thickening pill. I don't even know what it was, but you had to insert it rectally. So she had to do that, and she's like, sorry, you're gonna have to put this in your butt. I was just like, okay, that's happening now. Like, I feel violated in so many different ways today, but that's fine.
I was like mid passing out.
Oh yes, and then my husband's body decided that it wanted to fail him.
I was not breathing while she was pushing.
It's probably because of blood and everything.
Honestly, I get so emotional when you're going through all that like something just in him, my soul, like,
yeah, feels
your pain or something, and I just don't breathe, and then I almost passed out.
Yeah, so I'm glad that he didn't pass out, but he did have to sit down, and I don't know, the birth was very like...
Well, I think I was not breathing because you were pushing, and then when I realized I wasn't breathing, I started like breathing a lot.
Hyperventilating.
So hyperventilating myself.
Hyperventilating while I'm like bleeding to death.
Yeah, so I had to like sit down, put my head between my knees, and just wait a minute, and then give me apple juice.
Yeah, they always they hooked it up with apple juice.
2 out of the 3 births that happened to me.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, for overall, it was a really good birthing experience. She was 7 pounds 11 ounces, so she was my middleweight baby, right smack dab in the middle. And she was almost 21 inches long, like my other two. Both my other 2 daughters were both 21 inches. So she was a pretty average baby, although she feels very small to me. Like, her head is very small, and I'm very gracious to God for her having a small head, because recovery has been a little bit easier. Even
Ellie had a big head.
Yeah, Ellie had a big old honker. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching my labor and delivery story. If you guys haven't seen my pregnancy journeys or my other labor videos, please go check those out. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please leave your experiences down below in the comments. Oh, someone's hungry.
My turn.
Leave down in the comments your guys' pregnancy experience.
Hi.
And all those things that have been going on with you guys. And subscribe to my channel and turn the bell notification on, because we're going to be making update videos and mommy videos, mommy chit chat videos. I'm a real person, and I like to talk about very real subjects. We also are going to do some renovation videos, and I also resell from home, so we'll do some of those videos too. So if you like that kind of stuff, make sure to subscribe, and we will see you guys in my next video. Bye!
Woo!
Say hi!
Alright, so right now we're on our way to go to the hospital with the aunts and uncles and the siblings to go meet Bella and Mommy at the hospital. Are you girls excited?
Yeah. Drinks. Yeah.
Drinks?
Yeah, I want one.
But are you excited to see your sister?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I got a present.
What's your sister's name?
Her name is Bella.
Her name is Bella. Are you excited to meet Bella?
Yeah.
Ellie, are you excited to meet Bella?
Yeah. I got my eyes.
Alright. Yeah, don't touch her.
What do you think?
She's a baby.
Is this your baby?
That's your baby sister.
Yeah. Can you see Bella?
Bella.
Bella, that's right.
This is a baby.
Uh-huh.
Can she open her present now? It has got these nose.
If you want her to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, you see your shirt that says Big Sister?